Elijah Moore, I saw the cone video, him doing the sprints, the footwork. I know a lot of people love that.
They love it. He's a small man. He is small. Like you see him at camp, you're like, man,
Yeah,
he's fast.
He is fast.
Yeah. And like, guys like that can play.
Buffalo Plus, your interactive look at the week in football, brought to you by Connors and Ferris.
All right, welcome back to the Buffalo Plus channel presented by Connors and Ferris. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. This episode, we're going to talk about the biggest storylines heading into training camp because we are almost there. The offense, how they could improve in 2025, as well as a new guy that could make the biggest impact. All right, he's Mike Catalana. I am Jenna Cottrell, and you might recognize that Dan Fates is not here today. And Mike, it's for a special reason.
Yeah, he talked about it on the pod. Bringing Shane, his daughter, the oldest of the three,
yes,
down to New York City for what they hoped would be that, I would say, final checkup from her club foot.
Yeah.
That young lady and Dan and Renee have been through a lot.
They have, and they got the great news that it would be the final appointment. So a little round of applause. Yes. Mostly for Shane. No, I'm kidding. For Shane, Renee, and Dan, we're so happy for you guys.
And look at them. I mean, there they are down there in New York City with the doc celebrating. And
Dr. Sure. Yeah.
Then they went and had a little fun.
Yeah.
You know, they did. She deserves it. I mean, it's been a lot on their family, but to be a 5-year-old and go through nonstop with this up to this point, all those appointments. So yeah. Dan will have some things to say. He also has some travel stories.
I did not hear
he texted me this morning, took the heat for it, said he did something wrong and he's embarrassed.
Okay, that I'm curious to see.
So Dan was wrong.
Dan was wrong. Turn the mug. All right, let's jump into a little bit of stuff. We're happy for Dan, the Fates family. Really excited for them. As we get moving forward, I mean, training camp, I can't believe we're closing in on just a couple hours away from the start of camp. Let's start with just the biggest storyline you think heading into camp at Fisher.
Oh, so the biggest storyline overall, I think, is Hard Knocks.
Oh, okay.
Because I think it's going to be a daily thing. And I think as viewers and us, we're going to learn stuff that even in my 350 years of covering this team, I've never been privy to, you know?
Yeah. Privy.
Yes, I know. That word sends shivers through people's spines when you think of former
Doug Whaley
GMs.
right now.
Yeah. It wasn't privy.
Yeah.
Well, we are never privy to some of those meetings and
Not
some of those
in the
things.
building.
Yes. So when I say that, I think it's going to be a positive thing.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot of positive stories. But overall, I would think that would be the biggest thing, unless it's not.
Yeah. I mean, I think training camp is a big deal. And I think also James Cook and how it all plays out with him wanting a new contract. Will he be at camp? Will he come to camp and then not practice? Will he be out on the field? Will the Bills and him find a deal? Will they not? Will this be his final season in Buffalo? Like there's just, I think, so many things up in the air and so many different ways that this could play out. And that's kind of the biggest thing to me is what will this all look like as we start camp and as the summer progresses?
So let's go back to mandatory camp. I think all of us were under the impression that he wouldn't be there.
I was genuinely surprised that he was there. Like I was pleasantly surprised because my expectation just with him missing earlier parts of the spring and OTA stuff, I was like, oh, it makes sense to me that he wouldn't be at mandatory camp. But obviously he proved me and a lot of people wrong when he did show up to that.
And participated. And was out there.
And participated. Absolutely.
And listen, it's fines. And he doesn't want to give up his money. He shouldn't want to give up his money in this league. But listen, for the Bills' sake and for everybody, I hope James is there. I hope if they're going to come to an agreement, it happens now. But to me, Jenna, almost a little bit is like, well, if they haven't done anything leading up to camp, I don't know if there's going to just be a resignation amongst both sides that he's going to play his way out, and then that's going to be it. I don't know if there's a way, and we've talked about this, to compromise a little bit. He comes in, they talk, the Bills beef up the contract. It might cost them the compensatory side of it
Mhm.
because I think once you redo the deal, then I think you lose that count towards the picks. But having James Cook on the field is pretty big.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I wonder how much communication they have had over this summer, or if it kind of has been a situation of, you know what, we'll each take a break, we'll let things kind of cool off, and when camp comes back together, we'll renegotiate and realize, excuse me, and take a bit of a breather. But I mean, you know how I feel. I think just James Cook, what he adds to the team, and I
Yeah.
get it. There's a ton of different sides, but I am curious just how far apart the numbers are because to me, if you're close, it would be worth it, in my opinion, but I am not Brandon Bean. But that
No.
brings us to just how this Bills offense can be better in 2025. I think there was a lot to like about 2024 and what the Bills were able to do. But I do think that heading into this season, there are ways for this team to be even more explosive, even more dynamic, and even more firepower really under Josh.
I think the first thing they got to do, they had only 8 turnovers last year.
It's
I think you got to get
crazy.
rid of the one guy on the team had all 8 turnovers. Get him out of Orchard Park.
Who?
Josh
Oh
Allen.
my God. I was like, who had 8 turnovers?
He had the 2 fumbles that they lost, which is insane.
The fact that, yeah.
Yes. And he had all 6 interceptions. 8 turnovers, Josh. You had
I can't
100% of the
believe
team's
that.
turnovers. Their turnover differential was phenomenal. I look at this as a positive for that team. I look at it as a negative going forward
Well,
because it's so hard to replicate that.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
They did not put the ball on the ground, and when they did, most of the time they got it back.
They had unbelievable fumble luck.
Yeah, and there is a little luck. They didn't put it on the ground that often. I
Agreed.
think it was, if I'm read it right, maybe there was 11 or 12 fumbles
Yeah,
that most of them they got back.
say.
Um, but the defense was not great, but they turned it over. They were number 1 in the league in turnover differential.
Yeah.
That's a huge plus. So when you look at them offensively, they were not losing the ball
Mhm.
and they converted at a pretty high rate on
Yeah.
4th downs. So they kept drives going and they got the ball back on turnovers. Now, on the downside for the defense in those turnovers, a lot of times it seemed to happen like later in the drives. The other team would hold on to the ball. That they were not great at getting off the field in a normal way, but
Mhm.
they would get turnovers. So listen,
That's very true.
you point to that turnover differential. That's the one that's hard to replicate. I'm not saying they're going to have a ton of turnovers, and I think Josh played really smart, but that's the one thing you go, okay, let's see if you can
Yeah.
do it again.
It's really hard to recreate that
I
because it
yeah,
was just such an anomaly, I think that it did happen.
I looked back at some old Bills teams,
Mhm.
and in the 91 team, I've heard people mention how good the offense was last year, and it was very good. I don't think as an offense, when they're maintaining the ball and scoring, was quite as dynamic as what it was in the 90s. And I'm not
Yeah,
just
that's
looking back going, well, yeah, the old days, the old guy thinks this was great, but they did have Thurman. And, I mean, these guys all have gold jackets. What that team did do was they turned the ball over a lot. I think that year, Jim had like 19 interceptions, or they had like
wow.
35 turnovers. They moved the ball at an
Wow.
incredible rate.
Yeah.
They turned it over a lot. It was kind of wild the way they played. So that was the difference. So I say to you, is that just the way they play now? And maybe it goes up to from 8 turnovers to 12 or 13. Or were they just fortunate in what happened last year?
I think 2 things can be true. I
Yes.
think that they obviously were incredibly fortunate, but I do think and we've talked about Josh Allen and how coming into this last season, one of the biggest things that he wanted to work on in the offseason last year was the turnovers,
Hmm.
was some of the decision making. And it is wild to see what Josh Allen wants to work on and the results that happen the next year because I think you've seen just through him growing in the league and the things that he's adapted to and the things he's wanted to get better at he's done a great job of doing. And is it recreatable to have this season that low of a turnover rate? I don't think so, but that being said, that doesn't mean it has to double. That doesn't mean it has to, jump dramatically. I just think that they did have some luck as well, but I think that that's a part of this team and just some of the decision making, and it starts with Josh and it does trickle down. So that to me is something that while I don't expect it to be as low this season, I don't also expect it to completely become an issue and run out of control and be rampant.
Yeah, the 2 fumbles lost was the best season in NFL history. It was tied with a couple other teams with only losing 2. Yards per game, they were ninth. Points per game, they were second. Offensive possessions per game, which is an interesting one because you can look, I think Dallas had the most possessions, which is just interesting the way it went. They were 14th, time of possession 8th. They had the 9th fewest punts. I will say the other thing that goes with the turnovers, he only took 14 sacks all season.
I was wondering at what point we would also get into like O-line play, a little
Yeah,
bit about
they were
that.
great. They were great. But the place I would say they could improve the most is the overall passing game. They were 14th in passing yards.
Yeah.
They did a very good job. They were very efficient. I did not look at them as being a dynamic passing game.
Which is so funny considering you have Josh Allen as your quarterback, but I think the stats support that they were not always the pass first offense that we have seen in years past in Buffalo.
No, they ran it well. And when we talk about the run game, and we already just talked about, what they're going to get out of James Cook. This is another one. Last year, he had, compared to 23, James Cook carried the ball last year 30 times less and had 113 less yards than he had in 2023. But he had 14 more touchdowns, which is wild. He had 12 less catches, 16 less targets, 12 less catches than the year before. I just think he was a more dynamic player.
I absolutely. Do you think that was by design though? Or do you think that was a piece of Ray Davis getting out on the field?
I think the Ray Davis thing was big.
Yeah.
I think when Ray came in, he was very good in that role. And I looked at the snap counts. It was 485 for James, 264 for Ray Davis, 316 for Ty Johnson.
I mean, they have a very good running back room.
Yeah.
They really do. Like what they struggle with in terms of, I think in terms of receivers, I think that running back room really does help this team and the production that they want to get.
Ty Johnson too it seems like every catch he made was a big catch. He had 25 targets.
I think of that Detroit game.
Oh,
yeah.
And the catch he made against Denver in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, in the regular season, 25 targets, 18 receptions, 14 for first down, 3 for touchdown. He's great in that role.
He's so good. And I feel like he's so undervalued. If you were, a fan from like not a Bills team, you wouldn't be like, oh, Ty Johnson, who's that? But the role that he does play on this team, and especially like on third down, some of the plays that he's able to make.
I like the running back room a lot. Look, I hope James Cook is there, ready to go. That'd be great. And as much as I think of Ray Davis right now for this team in this season, I like Ray Davis in that number 2 running back role. You know what I mean? Like, listen, if he has to, for some reason, early in the year, we'll see what happens with James Cook. I mean, this can happen in the league where players don't show up.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. There's going to be a lot of fines if you're not showing up. But for any other reason, I like Ray Davis in that 2 role. I love Ty Johnson in his role. And when you have the literal Buffalo at running back, at quarterback, running back, Josh just adds so much to the run game. And then to your point, the offensive line. I looked at snap counts. 6 top snap counts for the team. 1 is quarterback Josh Allen. The other 5 are the offensive line, which makes sense.
It does, but they have been, I don't want to jinx it, but.
Well, they brought back every starter and every backup.
Well, and the health piece.
Yeah, they've been strong.
They've been strong with that.
Yep.
But also I think about a couple years ago when we were questioning Spencer Brown.
Yeah.
Obviously, Brandon Beane and McDermott showed a lot of faith in him, and he had the back injuries, and we're like, is this guy going to be the guy that you thought he could be? Coming off a really great season. And I think he showed, and then just the entire offensive line, the way they were able to work together. You saw how much, you mentioned Josh, 14 sacks this season. Then also the running game play that you saw, how cohesive that unit was and what that did for this offense. I have a question for you though.
Yep.
I mentioned earlier like some of the places for concern. If if James Cook is not who he was on the field in 2024, how worried are you about this offense in 2025? Like, regardless of the contract situation, any of that, I'm talking about the player on the field. If he takes a little bit of a step back and he has a season similar to 2023,
Yeah.
how worried are you?
I think they're going to throw the ball better this year. I think they already plan to have some of that as part of the regular offense. I think they believe, I mean, they were, like I said, they were 14th in passing.
Yeah.
And I think with Josh Allen and talent that he has, wide receivers and hopefully a tight end, they can improve on that. Would they need to more? If James Cook is out, maybe for a game or two, I think they can make up for it. But what I think they miss if James Cook, for any reason, is not on the field is that dynamic part. And it's the making plays. And the guy came through for him.
Yeah.
And I just think of, even though it was more play call, but I go back to the Miami game when they ran that great call,
Yeah.
dumped it off to James and he went in. I mean, he's was great. He caught the ball last year.
Yeah.
He might have had a drop or two, but that was not an issue.
That touchdown in the AFC
Oh,
Championship game.
incredible.
You mentioned the Bills throwing the ball more. I think that's a product of how little they did throw the ball this last season. But do you think that's also a testament to the personnel they have or Joe Brady now entering his second full season? Or is it a combination?
I think it was a combination of it, but I think Joe Brady's got another gear. And like any other team, like I think the Bills want teams around the league, even Baltimore, who they just played in the playoffs, to say, this is who the Bills are. And then come out, maybe they come out chucking the ball week one. Like when New England was at their best, they were versatile in
Yeah.
both ways. They could run it and they could throw it. And they had Tom Brady. And I think there is another gear for this passing game. I don't know if it's week in and week out. It could depend on the opponent. We saw Joe Brady do that with the run game when they played Dallas that time. And he just decided, I know we've been throwing it a lot really before he was really in control. And then they just ran it down their throat. And then the next week it was much more balanced. So I think they can do that. And you're going to put even more, I shouldn't even say more, a different thing on Josh Allen. And I think we know he can throw the football.
Yeah.
And maybe it does increase the potential for turnovers if you're going to throw it more.
Yeah.
But I do think on paper, they have a better receiving group than they did a year ago. But I think last year showed us, outside of you saying Khalil Shakir, we didn't know shit about what that wide receiver room was going to be.
No, we didn't. And even the Khalil Shakir was, I don't want to say lucky, but I didn't expect him to have kind of the breakout that he did have. I thought he was very sure-handed, and I was like, you got to love that, a receiver that can catch the ball. But the yak that we saw was obviously a really nice pop that I don't think a lot of people were.
100 targets, 76 catches, 10.8 per, which is down a little bit. Still 55 yards a game.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's got another gear in him.
I do too. I agree. Is he your pick for leading the team in receptions?
Well, we haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
I'll wait for Dan. And then
that's fair. We need fates here.
Yeah,
we
he's going to take
do.
MVS again. Keon, only 27 catches last year. That if he's on the field, that number is going to go up this year. He did have 556 yards. It's 19 yards a catch. Curtis Samuel had only 46 targets, 31 catches. We will see.
Okay, but Curtis Samuel, you talk about another gear. I think you think about how he ended the year and how different it was than when he started the year. And I do think that that's someone to me that's not a new guy, obviously, but someone that could make an impact. They also paid him decently. Like you want him to be involved. And I think at the end of the season, you saw some of the success of like, oh, this is why they brought this guy in. Now, how much can he build off of that? I'm not sure. But I'm more optimistic on him because in the middle of the year, I was like, dude, what is happening? It felt like every time they threw him the ball, something bad would happen.
So there's a lot of hot takes on Curtis Samuel floating around.
Okay. I must have missed them.
Would they deal Curtis Samuel? You know, it's funny. I looked at him and I'm like,
I did not see
the
that.
5 seasons before he played with the Bills, he had 1 year he was injured. The other 5 years, he averaged that was in Carolina and Washington. He averaged 93 targets per season. Um, Last year, he only got 46 targets. I don't think he was 100% healthy, but the way that contract works, if they were able to trade him, if for some reason they were looking to, they can move on some of that from the cap. If they cut him, not so much. So it's just the way, because obviously they'd be still on the hook for the
Yeah.
salary. The only reason that's been brought up is replication of what they have now with, Elijah Moore,
Mhm.
Josh Palmer, those guys, and then you figure out how the rest of it goes.
Are you optimistic that Curtis Samuel can make more of an impact this
Yeah,
season?
because I'm going to take credit for it, because I'm going to say I was way ahead because I predicted him to have the best season the year before. So if he has a really good year this year, I'm going to say,
It's
see,
not how takes work.
I'm going to say I was way ahead. I was a year ahead of everybody else on that. Does that work that way? That sounds like a Dan
So are
move.
you doubling down then and taking
No.
Curtis Samuel that's what that sounds like to me.
No. I'm just waiting to take credit for it
Oh, okay.
because I already put it out there. I put it out there way early on that
That's
case.
yeah, you were too early.
I do think what's fascinating about the wide receiver room is none of them play special teams. So
Yeah.
everybody wants to throw these 5 guys out there. I don't need to go too much into detail. You'll see everybody's 53-man projections on this team. They need somebody to return kicks.
Yeah.
So is that player going to be, I've heard Elijah Moore's name thrown out there. He did it in college. He did it like twice. You do not want at all, you don't want Khalil Shakir doing it.
No.
He is
Too valuable.
Micah Hyde in terms of returning kicks. Like if somebody's hurt for a game, fair catch the ball, take it out, be smart. Yes, he's too valuable to do that. Then you start getting into other players like Chenault, who's got history with Chris Tabor, the offensive or the special teams coach.
I'm excited to talk to him.
I want to see a little more about Jalen Virgil. He got to play a lot of special teams when they brought him up. He was a returner in college. Again, I don't know. And they still have KJ Hamler around. And then
Great soundbite.
Codrington.
Brandon Codrington.
He does not play corner. If he's on this team, he is.
That's why.
Technically, that's his position. So the reason I bring that up is there a move from, I don't think they activate 6 wide receivers for games. So you got to get some of that special team. They get no special teams out of their wide receivers.
Who do you think is a receiver that you think could be a pleasant surprise this season?
I think a lot of people are feeling this way, so I don't know how much of a surprise. I like Josh Palmer's skill set.
I do too.
And he's had big target years too. That's what I like about him and Elijah Moore. These are guys who've been in the league. Now you're also paying them guaranteed money, which is the downside to not maybe drafting more wide receivers. Sorry, Brandon. I didn't mean to bring it up. When we get you on the porch, we can ask about it. But at the same time, these guys have had, between the 3 of them, they've had at least 3 100 target seasons. I think Moore's got 2 and Palmer's got 1. In fact, Moore the last 2 years, 206 total targets. Now, he's playing for Cleveland, so they don't really count. But Josh Palmer a couple years ago had over 100 targets. So the reason I say this is these are guys who have gotten real reps and real targets and had production. In fact, when you look at Josh Palmer's year from like 2 years ago, it's very similar to numbers of what Khalil Shakir put on for the Bills last year. So I like seeing that if you're going to have those guys. I know Curtis Samuel's done it before, but I think people are a little down because he didn't do as much. So I'm very interested to see what Josh Palmer does and Elijah Moore both.
I like Josh Palmer. I'm buying not Elijah Moore stock. I'm buying Curtis Samuel stock. Elijah Moore, I saw the cone video, him doing the sprints, the footwork. I know a lot of people love that.
They love it. He's a small man. He is small. Like you see him at camp, you're like, man, he's fast.
He is fast.
Yeah. And like, guys like that can play. Like if he can beat people, he can get open. Like I think they can get him the ball. But, there's so much well, we can talk about the other side of this, but just so much of what they do, I think, will revolve around Keon,
I was
though.
about to say, we have not really talked about Keon.
And, it just did not work as well as they wanted.
Yeah,
And they called him out. And
that they did.
we said at the end of like the mini camps, like, I liked the way he talked. I liked his realization of, I need to be better at these things.
He called his rookie season trash.
Yeah.
I liked that. I liked it was probably pretty harsh, but I liked someone being like, "You know what? I wasn't good enough. I need to be better." I would rather have that because that to me says that you're okay coaching yourself hard.
I want these wide receivers to be so good that Josh Allen wins MVP again because of his numbers,
Yeah.
not because of the guys who weren't high enough level players to help him. That Josh is just out there. I don't mean chucking it, throwing for 350 every game. That would be kind of fun to see.
I would sign up for that.
Yeah. I mean, it is fun to see,
Yeah.
but and when he's needed to do it, we saw those back-to-back Rams and Lions games, even with this group last year, he could do it. So I think Keon is a huge part of what they want to do. He's going to get a lot of snaps. And I do think Joe Brady having a whole season with him, looking at what his skill set is going to find ways to get him the ball a little earlier.
I do think the attitude that he had this offseason is what I needed to see.
Yeah.
I needed to see that self-awareness. I need to see and, like, he is a type of player that, he had a workout video that was posted as well, and, like, he doesn't have the quick feet that Elijah Moore does, but he's also a different type of guy. Like, I don't expect him to have that fluidity that Elijah Moore does in terms of the speed and stuff like that, but it's how can you best utilize Keon and his skill set and his, vertical, like, jumping ability. We talk about the contested catches, like, stuff like that. How can you find a way to maximize that? Because you did draft him in the second round, and he is a higher draft pick. But going off of that, it's like, I think Keon is a player that people are like, I need to see improvement in this season. And then I do think it's also Dalton Kincaid. And what are you going to get out of him in year 3? And obviously, I know people will talk about the injuries and how that hampered him this last season. And I think that did play a factor. And also, when you are out on the field and you're not performing well, there's the criticism that comes with it. And if you are that injured, sometimes it's like, wow, I wonder why he, you know, was out there if it really made it that much more difficult for him to play. Do you know what I mean? Like if
Oh,
he's that injured that it affects him that much, part of me is like, why is he out there?
yeah. I mean, that's the danger of being a player who plays hurt/injured,
Yeah.
because once you're on the field, there's an expectation.
Yeah, it's true. And
He made points with his teammates, I think, because I think a lot of them have commented that he was really banged up
Mhm.
and he went out there to play. I hope that's the case. You mentioned Spencer Brown.
Yes.
They speak about Dalton Kincaid in a similar way that they speak about Spencer Brown. They made some excuses for him early on, COVID, and then coming out of school and smaller program, and then he was hurt. And you're like, okay. And then he played much better.
Mhm.
And he's become a cornerstone of the team, certainly of the offensive line. And I think they hope that for Kincaid. The one I don't buy, I've heard people talk about the uncatchable rate on passes.
Mhm.
And, it's like Bill's made a lot of changes. So, maybe they just weren't on the same page. His uncatchable pass rate as a rookie was 10%. So what? They got less time together year 2.
Yeah.
And I know they tried maybe a little farther down. If you look at his average rate per pass distance wise, it was a little farther, but let's settle down with that. Josh Allen had great numbers with every other wide receiver. And I'm not totally blaming it on Kincaid, but the year before, targeted 91 times, 73 catches, 9.2 yards per catch. And then last year is the rate of uncatchable balls was 34% in year 2. It was 10% in year 1.
Yeah.
He was with and they're boys.
Well,
They're
that's the
buddies.
thing where I know some people were talking about like, oh, chemistry, and they need to work on that. And I think it is evident that there's some type of disconnect when they're on the field. And also they are very close friends that have spent a lot of time together. And so I don't think playing more Madden with one another is going to fix that. Like I think it's just having to, whether that's watch more tape
Yeah.
or run. I don't know what that looks like, but I don't think it's because of that piece. Do you
No,
know what I mean?
I agree. I think he was hindered. Okay, so they need him to be healthy. Hopefully, he's healthy coming into this year. He's still going to be obviously a big part of their offense. But when we were sitting here a year ago, I think the assumption was he was going to be the focal point of the offense.
I think that was 1,000%. Now, I do think it's unfair that people tabbed him as like the next Travis Kelce,
Well, that's
because
just
that's diabolical and like genuinely stressful to think about for a young player in year 2 being like, you're gonna be like, a future Hall of Famer
yeah.
early on. But that being said, I think there was still more left to be desired. And I know people are gonna say, his rookie season, he had like franchise records for all that stuff. And I'm like, the Bills just really have
No,
never.
the Bills' history of tight ends
Yeah.
is bad.
It's like 2 things can be true. He had
Yeah,
a decent rookie season, and also the bar was incredibly low for tight
yeah.
ends for the franchise.
And if
Like,
he would have
that's okay. We can admit that.
yes, and if that year would have just been a stacking for the next year,
Absolutely. You'd be
yeah,
thrilled, excited. That's what their floor is.
yeah.
How high do you think the ceiling is for him?
I don't think in terms of the numbers right now and say he could be, 120 targets and
Mhm.
85 catches. Like I don't know if he's there. I want to see him if it's truly about being healthy, I want to see him being the guy that they sold us on when he came in
Yeah.
after the draft, that he is a matchup problem. And they even referred to him as a wide receiver and talked about him being a little Cole Beasley like.
Yeah, yeah, I forgot about yeah.
I haven't seen any of that. I've
Yes.
seen moments where he's smooth. We watched him in the camp, and you're like, man, the guy he
Yeah.
just moves. His hands are good. All that stuff. But I don't know. I guess my expectations are much more moderate. I think I was pretty high on him going into year 2.
So you feel like you've lowered your
Yes.
expectations. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm glad Dawson Knox is still there
Yeah, no, I do too.
because
I feel the same
Dawson,
way. I
I
mean,
think
I
is a
called
very,
him I called him tight end 1
yeah,
at the end of last year, and
he had the
I
most snaps now.
also the
Kincaid missed the
injuries.
games and
Yeah,
all, but he
yeah.
did.
No, I get that. But in terms of like when they were on the field, their play, I had more confidence in Dawson Knox coming through and making bigger catches. And
Yeah. I mean, this is the way it plays out on the field. I say, I've used this before, the old Mike Schmidt line of he was a baseball player back in the 80s. I know, old man, but his line was he played in Philly was there's the thrill of victory and the agony of reading about it in the paper the next day. And I sometimes feel like it's the thrill of victory and the agony of reading while they shouldn't have won because of the analytics or why
yeah,
this guy is better than you think he is for a
I
bunch of numbers. And I like the numbers, but to your point, like go to Detroit. Dawson Knox made that catch.
yeah.
It wasn't a 60-yard play. It wasn't a touchdown. It was an outstanding over the top catch on a throw by Josh. Those kind of plays. Like he has been that guy for
Mhm.
them for the most part.
Yeah.
And
I
I
mean,
want to say it.
I totally get the statistics, and I think you can absolutely frame whatever argument or side of things you wanna be on. But I also think that sometimes it's important to just, like, look at the player and the body of work, maybe not just the stats, but the full everything, and that's why I think I totally understand. I think maybe we did have too high of expectations on Dalton
Yeah.
Kincaid, and maybe by lowering them a bit, he can surpass them, and you think, "Wow, look what this guy can add to the offense." But I think it is reasonable to say, "Hey, we've put a ton of pressure on this younger player. Maybe we need to dial some of that back and give him the opportunity to grow."
Yeah.
And how will he be utilized with Joe Brady? Will he have the same amount of opportunity that he had last season?
And his quarterback, from what I was reading, at least on Instagram, may be in the best shape of his life.
You love this.
What was who
I don't
was
even
it?
know if that's like real who the yeah, I don't know if it's a real news
I
source.
sent it to you, right?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
did.
And I
Yeah.
was just laughing because that's not normally the stuff you see about Josh.
Oh, okay. It was Business Insider. NFL quarterback Josh Allen says he's cutting out these 2 foods and his diet is probably the best it's ever been.
Best shape of his life.
Wasn't expecting that from Josh Allen. Best shape.
What foods did he
what
cut out?
foods do you think he cut out? Hold on. I don't know this. I would say what foods I would cut out to be in the best shape of my life would be, well, I feel like one of them kind of has to be alcohol, right?
Alcohol and chips.
For you.
Just gone. They got to be gone. No chili stops for me.
Pasta and ice cream for me.
Oh, well, yeah, those are. Yeah.
I don't really drink that much. And I'm not high.
Yes.
I enjoy like bread, anything like that.
Yeah. But what would you think the two for Josh would be?
I'm
He
looking
can't say wings. Can he say
No,
wings
he
in
can't say-
Buffalo?
No. Business Insider. I would have to. Let me see. Okay.
Cut these two foods out. Best shape of his life. We should ask
Protein
him that.
heavy and steers clear of dairy.
Oh, that seems like the missus got to him. Can you imagine a woman saying to her husband to do things to get in shape?
I love that for her. Oh my gosh. He's not extremely hungry when he gets up in the morning, so he usually eats a light breakfast. But he doesn't follow the intermittent fasting.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we don't like him. I don't like him going into that like low positive or any of that stuff.
No low positive.
Yeah. Stick with it, Josh.
Taking out butter and dairy. Oh, butter? I love butter.
Hold on.
Butter is dairy, I thought.
Well, it is. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it says like, quote, I'm also taking the butter and dairy out, trying to eat very clean.
Okay. Let's see. Best shape.
He also likes doing a full body workout. He goes for a swim. I grew up swimming competitively. Wow. I did not know that.
Business Insider getting the scoop.
Yeah. Wow. Very interesting.
And go for a swim. You can go for a swim, get on a raft and like lean back.
That's my idea of swimming. I remember my parents were like, hey, maybe you should try swimming. And I remember doing laps and then just stopping in the middle of the pool and sinking and being like, this is so hard. That is a crazy workout.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not for me.
I could see him saying, how about swimming? And they're like, okay, Josh. And then that's what he's doing.
That's fair. I mean, he also probably played every sport growing up.
Yeah,
too.
he was just nonstop.
Yeah.
So
the butter, that I would struggle with that.
All right.
Maybe he was on the wedding diet too.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think
Wedding's
so.
over.
Yeah.
Now it's time to go to work.
All right. Anything else?
No, I don't think so. I did see.
Wait, new player that you expect to make the biggest impact?
New player in terms of
the offense you expect to make the biggest impact.
Yeah.
Or you think can make an impact.
I think I'll stick with Josh Palmer. You wanted to have him too.
Yeah.
Well, that's all right. I like being on your side with wide receivers because you were good last year. Also, on the defensive side, I'm going to go with the rookie. I think TJ Sanders is going to be good for them. And I think he's going to be impactful early.
Second round pick that just signed.
Also, Landon Jackson told Trainwreck Sports that he expects to be back soon. He's on the PUP list.
Yeah.
Doesn't appear to be anything.
Which if you
major.
enter camp on the PUP list, you can be taken off at any time.
Anytime. Yeah. Because if you put him on there at the beginning of the year after camp, then he's out for
then you have to miss
six
I believe
games,
it's so that's obviously a considerable
So that's minor. So that's good.
Yeah.
So it'll be good.
I love Landon Jackson. That's who I think is going to have.
Yeah. I think he could be really good for them. Camp's going to be fun. We're going to be out there.
Yeah.
Lots
say
of
hi
content.
if you see us.
Yes.
Love to chat.
Yeah.
Can I pull you for a chat? You don't get that. That's
no, I don't know.
Love Island.
Oh, please. I hear you guys talking about it. You discuss it like you're breaking down the game.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
We'll talk all about it in the newsroom.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share as we get ready for training camp. We're going to have so much content. All of the content. We'll be sure to get the notification on as well, the bell. Also, reminder, if you can't always watch the videos, we have the Buffalo Plus podcast available wherever you find your podcasts. We'll also have our updates there as well.
And Hard Knocks, we will be doing our show reviews. I think that'll be fun.
We're going to be watching Hard Knocks and breaking down our review of it. We also are trying to be more active on our social media in terms of our Instagram. It's Buffalo Plus _. Our TikTok, which is Buffalo Plus _.
I'm a big hit on TikTok.
Also, do you have a TikTok? Your own personal TikTok?
I do, but I didn't use it. I usually just go on ours.
That's
Buffalo
fair.
Plus.
I am also trying to be on TikTok. So it's Jenna Cottrell _. Dan is also on TikTok. I believe it's just Dan Fates. But yeah, follow us on every platform and we would really appreciate that. So I think this is going to be a really big year for the Bills.
Yep.
And I think this is going to be a really big year for Buffalo Plus. So thank you so much for joining and following along. You know how much we appreciate it. Once again, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. We will catch you next time here on the Buffalo Plus channel. For Mike Catalana and Dan Fates, who's not here, I am Jenna Cottrell. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you next time here on Buffalo Plus, presented by Connors and Ferris.
Buffalo Plus, your interactive look at the week in football, brought to you by Connors and Ferris.